Hey y'all, so before we begin, I did want to make sure I did insert that I did use two of these gowns. At first I tried to make it with just one, but I needed two because I wanted to make sleeves. So if you don't want sleeves, you could just use one, but I ended up using two. What I like to do is start off by taking a piece of clothing that I already own, and I like how the fit of it is, and I'm going to just make a pattern from here. And since I'm gonna do a crop top and a skirt, I'm going to just take the top part of the dress, and where you see it cinches in at the waist, that's going to be the cutoff of where I'm gonna make the crop top. Did want to make the shirt, the front of the shirt and the back of the shirt two different ways. So if I wanted to, I could wear it as two different outfits, if that makes sense. So it's like I have two different tops. So for the other portion of the top, I'm going to make a cutout in the front. And this is just to add a little detail. Again, you could either wear this part in the front or in the back. It's completely up to you. Or you can really just keep your top simple and do it how we did the first cutout, but I just wanted to make two to give it a more versatile look. Then I'm gonna do the exact same thing for our sleeve portion. It's very simple. Next, you want to take your you can use whatever you want, but I took the gowns, and I'm going to just slice it on both sides, so it's going to be one flat piece of fabric. Once you've got your patterns, you want to take your fabric and or your gown, and you just want to begin to cut out to the pieces that we've made. This is what all the top pieces look like. Two for the sleeve, two for the front, and two for the back. I had to cut my front and back portions in two because I didn't have a lot of fabric to work with, so that's how I do finesse the fabric. And cutting it in two pieces is a super simple way to stretch your fabric, because the only thing you have to do is sew it down the middle to connect both. What I like to do first is sew my sleeves. Make sure when you are sewing your sleeves that your fabric is inside out. So the portion that you want to be on the outside of the fabric should be inside while you're sewing. And this is what I mean by that. And then I'm going to just sew up the open side for both sleeves. Once that was done, I took both pieces for the front and back and I sewed them together to make them one piece for the front and one piece for the back. And then I separated the very front piece because I'm adding a string in the front. So the only thing that you want to do for this is make sure that you are adding a casing. So what a casing is when it's basically you hemming the fabric. You're making a space for the string to go, and you just want to flip it under wherever you're going to put the string. You want to flip it under and you want to sew a line of stitches to close it up. I've shown this quite a few times, so I feel like you should be very experienced in this area. If not, though, I could definitely make a separate video on how to do this, but it's super simple. After that, you want to take your back portion and your front portion and you want to lay them right on top of each other like so and sew them together. Here is where you add your sleeves. I did the same thing for the front and back panels for our skirt. So I did cut 2 separate pieces for the front and 2 separate pieces for the back. Again, this was me just, not having enough fabric, but if you have enough, then just cut 1 piece. But this is when I sewed them together to make them 1 piece for the front and 1 piece for the back. Then I attached the front and the back panels to one side, so it made this long strip of fabric. And this is so I can make the casing for our strings so we can have the ruching in the front. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking a 2-inch piece of fabric and I'm going to place this in the middle of the skirt. And I'm going to pin it down. And as you can see, I'm making 2 lines of pins because one line is going to indicate where I sew my first line. In total, we're going to sew down 3 lines on the strip of fabric. The first line is going to be where the right side is. The second line is going to be where the left side is, and then the third line is going to be a line of stitches straight down the middle. And this is going to make a casing for our strings, which is going to cause the ruching effect in the front. Once I did sew down the strip of fabric, I did close up the other end of the skirt. I didn't show that part, that's why I'm letting you know that now. And here's what it looks like once it's sewn down, and you just want to thread your string straight through that, and it'll give it a ruching effect. The tighter you make the string, the tighter the ruching. Here is the final look. I would love to see your recreations of this. If you do try it out, please tag me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll be sure to hit you back up. I'll see you again next week for our next transformation.